Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So let us suppose that we have the unloaded transformer. This is the unloaded transformer. And when we switched on with an AC supply, then it will experience the large inrush of the current. This is the current at full load, and this is the current when unloaded transformer is switched on to an AC supply. Now we will see that how this inrush come from. Now let us suppose that we will have the flux phi equals to phi m sine omega t, and the induced voltage you see is equals to n d phi by dt. Wait for 2 minutes. Now the induced voltage is given by n d phi by dt, and finally we are getting n phi m omega cos of omega t, differentiate it, and finally we get n phi m omega sine of omega t plus 90 degree. Now from this you will see the applied voltage is equal to the induced voltage, and the flux in the transformer lags the applied voltage by an angle of 90 degrees. So if we draw it, the phasor diagram of that, then we will have the voltage V and the flux phi, and in terms of the waveforms, if we want to draw the waveforms of that, then you will see that if this is the flux waveform, then this is the voltage waveform. This is the flux waveform phi, and this is the voltage waveform V. So in this case, what you see that this flux lags the voltage by an angle of 90 degree. Now, from this, what we analyze that when the voltage is passing through the zero, and becoming positive, as you have seen in this case, when the voltage is passing through zero and becoming positive, let us suppose here, then flux should be at the negative maxima. So when the voltage is passing through zero and moving towards the positive, the flux in this case is at the negative maximum. So this is the waveform for the voltage, and this is the waveform for the flux. So from this, what we conclude? We conclude that in the time equals to t by 2. Let us suppose that whole of the time period is t. That is from this to this, the time period is 2. Or what we can do, we can draw the flux and the voltage waveforms in such a way that it can be analyzed more correctly. Now, we will have the voltage waveform, let us suppose, and the flux lags the voltage by an angle of pi by 2. So this is the flux. So this is the voltage waveform and this is the flux waveform which lags it by an angle of pi by 2. Now, this is the time period of that. This is the voltage, this is the flux, and this is the time period. Let us suppose t. And here we will have t by 2. Now, from this what we see that in the time equals to t by 2, we are seeing this waveform of voltage and we are seeing this waveform of flux. In the time equals to t by 2, up to this time it is t by 2, the flux changes from minus phi to plus phi, phi maximum. It is phi maximum minus phi maximum. And here we will have the plus phi maximum. So flux changes from minus phi m to plus phi m. Therefore, in this time from 0 to t by 2, the change in the flux is 2 times phi m. That is phi m minus times phi m equals to 2 phi m. So in t by 2 seconds. So flux changes by 2 phi m in t by 2 seconds, which is the steady state picture of this. Now, let us assume when we start the transformer, let us assume that it is transformer is switched at the positive 0 crossing of the voltage waveform. Let us suppose that transformer is started at this instant. That is the positive 0 crossing of the voltage waveform. And in this case, we will see that if the transformer is started at this point, that is positive 0 crossing of the voltage waveform, and let us assume that this residual flux, initially this residual flux is equals to 0, phi r is equals to 0. So what happens? The initial value of the flux is 0, and what you see from this waveform, you will see the flux must have the same rate of change. That is, the rate of change is 2 phi m in t by 2 seconds. So flux must have the same rate of change and same waveform as it has during the steady state time. So it means that the flux must reach the peak, that is a peak value of 2 phi m. In that very case, it must covers the distance of the 2 phi m in half the cycle. So it must covers 2 phi m in half the cycle, because initially if we have the if we take the case, we have the phi m, rate of change is 2 phi m. However, when we start the transformer from here, then in that very case, the rate of change must remain same, and it must cover 2 phi m in this particular time. So it must cover this during this particular time. It means that the flux waveform would be, the rate of the change of the flux remains same. The flux waveform would be somewhat like that. And here the distance between this point and this point will be 2 phi m. So it remains the same. This voltage is there. We start here, and the rate of change of the flux remains the same, and it covers the distance in t by 2. It covers 2 phi m. So, and also one more point, that the transformer operate near the knee of the saturation curve. A flux demand of 2 phi m, a flux demand derives the transformer deep into the saturation region. So it derives the transformer deep into the saturation region because the flux demand is more, and it draws a large magnetizing current. It draws a large magnetizing current because when we are operating in that region, saturation region, in that very case, we don't have the direct relationship between, we don't have the linear relationship between V and H, and as a result, we will have the non-sinusoidal waveform. So it draws a large magnetizing current because of the flux and the non-sinusoidal waveform. It draws the non-sinusoidal waveform, and the magnetizing current as a result is very high because we are moving in this region. It can be of the order of nearly about 30 times the full load current. It can be of the order of 30 times the full load current. So this phenomena is known as the inrush current of the transformer. So this phenomena is known as the inrush current of the transformer. And the time of this can be the few seconds. Now we can explain it with the help of a diagram. So this is actually the steady state flux that we have discussed, and this is the normal voltage, and in T by 2 it covers the the rate of change is 2 phi m in that very case. Now when we start the transformer from here and the initial residual flux is 0, then in that very case the rate of change remains the same for the initial period. So in that very case the large flux is required in that is the flux is 2 times the maximum flux, and this large value of the flux, it derives the transformer into the saturation region. Because if the flux is increased, then magnetizing current that is required is also increased. Now this, it drives the curve into the magnetization and in this saturation region, and when it is in the saturation region, in that very case the current would also increase. Initially it was here, the operating point is at the knee point. However, when the operating point moves to the saturation region, then the curve would be the peaky curve. So this phenomena is known as the inrush of the transformer. So this is the inrush current of the transformer. So this is the inrush current of the transformer. Now we we will discuss a small relationship that what is the value of this inrush current. Now let us suppose that voltage be, in this case the voltage be represented by Vm. We have the voltage V. Let Vm is the peak value of the voltage, and Vm sine of omega t plus theta, and theta is actually the theta actually controls the switching instant. It controls the switching instant. Now let us suppose that phi be the instantaneous value of the flux. Then we can write n d phi by dt, that we have discussed also in previous expression. We have V. Finally, we will have n d phi by dt is equals to Vm sine of omega t plus theta. Then we will have d phi equals to, I can write directly the expression of this phi without going in detail of that. So finally, phi, we are getting minus Vm by n omega. You can verify it at your own end. Omega t plus theta plus k. Now k is actually the constant of integration. Now the value of the k can be found out. Now the value of the k can be found out by the initial conditions, that is initial condition at t equals to 0. Phi equals to phi r, which is the residual flux, and substituting the initial conditions, we are getting the residual flux phi r is equals to minus Vm by n omega cos of theta plus k, and finally we are getting k as phi r plus Vm by n omega cos of theta. So we are getting the value of k, and the final expression for the flux of the transformer during the initial condition is, it can be obtained by substituting the value of the k. So finally, we are getting phi equals to phi r plus Vm n omega cos theta minus Vm by n omega cos of omega t plus theta. So finally, we can write the expression like that. The final expression can be written as phi equals to phi r plus phi m cos theta minus phi m cos of omega t plus theta. So in this case, we will have the three factors. This is the residual flux. Then second is the instant of switching that we have discussed, theta, and magnetic properties of the core, that is the amount of magnetizing current required to obtain the particular amount of flux. Now, from this expression, you will see that if theta is equals to 0 and phi r is equals to plus phi m, then in that very case, the amplitude of the phi is 3 phi m, and at omega t equals to pi. Now, to satisfy the demand of this 3 phi m, the transformer primary draws a very large magnetizing current with a peaky non-sinusoidal waveform that we have discussed in the diagram also. So, this is the inrush. However, inrush is also experienced whenever there is the sudden change in the system voltage. So whenever the sudden change is there in system voltage, then inrush can also be observed, and such as a sudden recovery of the system voltage when we are clearing the fault. However, when an unloaded transformer which is being switched on, it also experiences other transformer which is in vicinity also experiences a small degree of inrush, which is known as the sympathetic inrush. Which is known as the sympathetic inrush. And however, if you take the case of, if you see the in case of protection system, if you see, if such a large current flows during the starting of the transformer on the one side of the transformer, it looks like an internal fault to a differential scheme, and as a result, it ends up as a spill current. So it will afraid because large amount of current is drawn because of that. So from this we will see that the percentage differential relay is likely to maloperate. Percentage differential relay is likely to maloperate because it will see the large, because of the flux, it will see the spill current, and because of the spill current, it will operate. So it will maloperate during while seeing the large amount of the current. Now, what is the way out of that? So how we can prevent that, and what kind of relay is used for that very purpose? Now, the relay that is used for that very purpose is the percentage differential relay with a harmonic restraint. Why harmonic restraint? We can discuss. Now we have seen that the percentage differential relay, normal percentage differential relay, it can maloperate due to the magnetizing inrush. And one way to combat this problem is that what we do initially, we desanitize the relay for a very small period of time. That is an impractical that is way out. That is what we can do. We can desanitize the relay for a very small amount of time just after switching on, and then after that, then we can switch it on. However, this is not desirable since the probability of the insulation failure during the after the switching is quite high, and whenever we are desanitizing the relay, then it might happen that the insulation failure would be there at that particular point of time. So this is not a practical scenario. So desanitizing the relay, is not the practical alternative. Now, what is the way out? The way out is that that when we compare the waveform of the internal fault current with that of the inrush current, the inrush current is actually rich in the harmonics. So inrush current, it contains the harmonics. However, internal fault current, it contains only fundamental component. So it contains only fundamental components. So we find the solution. So we can develop additional restraint which is based on the harmonic content of the inrush current, and this additional restraint comes into picture only during the inrush condition, and it gives the signal to that. Now here it shows the conceptual scheme of the harmonic restraint percentage differential relay with the harmonic restraint. This is the conceptual diagram of that. Now, as we know that there are different harmonic contents, different harmonic contents in the inrush waveforms are, let us suppose that for a fundamental, we will have the 100%. For the second harmonic, we have the 40 to 30 to 70%. Third harmonic, we will have the 10 to 30%. Now, what we do, we will have the current which is coming from the CT secondary. We segregate the current as the spill current and the circulating current. Now, spill current and the circulating current. Now, what is done? This spill current, it actually filters into fundamental component and the harmonics. If the harmonics are there in the system, then in that very case, it will generate the restraining torque. And similar is the case if in the circulating current, we will have the harmonics plus fundamental. There is no need to segregate that. Then we will have the restraining torque. Otherwise, if the spill current is there and then we filter it and we have the fundamental component, and if no fundamental component is there, in that very case, all harmonics is there, then it will not operate. However, if the fundamental component is present in that, then operating torque is there in that very case. So, non-fundamental component of the spill aids this unfiltered circulating current in developing the restraining torque, and this makes the relay stable while we will have the inrush current whenever we have the inrush current. So this is actually the basic conceptual diagram of that. We will see the harmonic component and then we can take decision from that. Now, this scheme is implemented by this diagram. We will have this. This is implemented here. Like we will have 0 and 1. 0 and 1, these are connected here. So it will have the fundamental component, then it is connected to this spill coil, then the operating torque would be there. Otherwise, then we will have 0 to 2. 0 to 2, and the filter is used, and it will see whether it will have the harmonic component or not. And if it has the harmonic component, then the restraint, it will give to the restraining coil for producing the restraining torque. Similarly, 3 and 4. 3 and 4 is actually the circulating current, and it is connected here. And if it has the this component, it will see if it has the harmonic component, definitely it will provide the restraining torque. So this is the how you can implement it. This is about the percentage differential relay with the harmonic restraint. Now we will discuss the high resistance ground faults in the transformer. High resistance ground faults in the transformer. Now, what are the high resistance ground fault of the transformer? Now, a percentage differential, if you take the case of the percentage differential relay, then the percentage differential relay, it has the certain minimum pickup value. Let us suppose that it is IPU. So for internal fault, and the fault current below this, if the fault current is below this, it is not detected by the percentage differential relay. Fault current can be below it because if the resistance is high, the fault current can be less than that, so not detected. So it cannot be detected by the percentage differential relay. Now, winding to core fault is such a fault which are the which involves the that is high resistance. So winding to the core faults, these are the high resistance faults, because winding to core fault, in that very case, the resistance is high and the current is less. Current is less, and so it means that resistance is high. So it is the high resistance for this fault which comes into this category. So we will have the more sensitive relaying scheme to cater this high resistance fault, and to reach such a protection, we must have restricted to the winding of the transformer. Otherwise, it may operate for any ground fault anywhere in the system beyond the transformer. So it must be sensitive enough so that it will see the faults of winding to core fault. Otherwise, since the current is very less, it can be so sensitive that it can detect the fault, and it can manipulate for any current within the system. So this protection is also known as the restricted earth fault protection. So this protection is also known as the restricted earth fault protection. Now, schematic here, the schematic shows the high resistance ground fault on the delta side. So high resistance ground fault on the delta side. Now, from this we see that if let us suppose that fault occurs on the star side, in this case, then the current flows in the lines connected to the delta side is in such a way that no spill current will result through the relay on this, and as a result, we can so the automatically the reach of this relay can be restricted. So it can be done in such a way that if let us suppose that if the fault on the star side is there and the current flows in the line connected to the delta side is in such a way that no spill current will flow, and as a result, it will give the reach of this relay is automatically restricted to this area only. So, and it is also independent of the load current. Now, high resistance ground fault on the star side, there is a schematic for that. On the star side, you will see in the star side, actually it is also known, as we have discussed, it is also known as the restricted earth fault protection, whose reach is actually limited to the star side of the transformer. If you see that, it is also known as the restricted earth fault protection. Restricted earth fault protection, and whose reach is limited to the star side of the transformer. However, if you see that we will have this, if the ground faults are there beyond the star side anywhere in the system, it do cause the current to flow in the secondary of the CTs, and the current circulate through the CT, if you see, in the neutral path, and the CT in case of the faulty phase. So there is no spill current flows, and the scheme remains stable on the external fault in that very case. So this is the restricted earth fault protection in this case in the star side, and also the we will have this ground protection is also provided in this case. So this is the high resistance ground faults in the transformer. Now, one more fault is there, which is in the transformer, is the interturn fault. Is the interturn fault. So interturn faults is actually it causes the heavy current to flow through the shorted turns. If the turns are shorted, let us suppose, then large amount of the current flows through it. However, the current that is reflected on the other side is very small. So how we can do it? Let us suppose that we have the voltage and we have voltage here, and we want to calculate the current I1. Then we will have 400 divided by root 3, and let us suppose the current is I1 and fault takes place in I2. These turns are, let us suppose these turns are shorted, and when these turns are shorted, then whatever with the what is the voltage and the current? Let us suppose the current which is flowing through the shorted turn is 5000 ampere. So, and the voltage through this is 5 volts. So 5 into 5000 ampere. So finally, we are getting the current as 0.11 ampere. So current is approximately 0.11. That is I1 equals to 0.1. It is very small. It means that the current that circulates within the shorted turns is 5000 amperes, whereas at 400 kV terminals, the current that is here that is circulating is only 0.11 ampere. So you can say that the interturn fault, in case of interturn fault, it is difficult to detect using the overcurrent differential relay because the change is very small. So it is very difficult if we are using the simple differential principle scheme in that, and it can result, these shorted turns, it can result in the severe hotspot, which results in the deterioration of the insulation. So it causes the severe hotspot, which results in the deterioration of insulation. Now, how you can take care of that? If the interturn fault is there, we cannot detect with the differential relay. So it can be detected by the purely non-electrical means. One relay which is used for that very purpose, which is used to detect the fault purely by the non-electrical means, it is known as the Buckles relay. Now we can discuss the Buckles relay. So what is that relay? And this relay is actually used for the incipient faults. So what are the incipient faults? Incipient faults are, these are actually the faults which are not significant in the beginning, but slowly develops into the serious faults. Slowly develops into the serious faults, and the Buckles relay is used for that very purpose. Buckles relay is used for that very purpose. Now, where the Buckles relay is installed with respect to transformer, it is shown in this diagram. You will see. Now we will have the transformer. Then we will have the transformer oil, transformer tank, low voltage bushings, high voltage bushings. Then here the Buckles relay is placed here. We will have the breather and the conservator, and we will have here the Buckles relay is used, and two types of contacts are there in that. One is the trip contact, and second is the alarm contact. So it is actually the non-electrical means of detecting the fault. So this is the Buckles relay, which is used for that very purpose. Now this is which where it is used, and this is the conceptual diagram of this relay. Now, uh, let us suppose then when the incipient fault occurs, which can be the winding to core fault, which can be winding to core fault, or which can be the interturn fault. Winding to core fault, interturn fault in the transformer. So there is the severe heating of the transformer. Severe heating is there in the transformer, as we have discussed. In case of the interturn fault, we will have the hot spots are generated and the severe heating is there in the transformer. Now, when the severe heating is there in the transformer, the gases are liberated from the oil at around 350 degree. When the temperature reaches the 350, so the gases are liberated. At 350 degrees Celsius. So the gases are liberated, and there is the buildup of pressure causing the oil to rush to the conservator. So there is the pressure, buildup of the pressure, because the gases are liberated. It causes the oil to run to the conservator after 350 degree Celsius. Now, you can see a vein is placed in the path of the oil. Here, the whole of this is shown here. So, it is the gases which is coming from the oil, and the vein is placed on the path of the oil between the transformer and the conservator. This is the conservator and this is the transformer. So a vein is placed in its path between the transformer and the conservator, and the set of contacts, these are actually the set of the contacts which are operated by this vein. If the oil pressure is very high, then this vein will move and it will short here. So a set of contacts which are operated by this vein, it is actually used to trip the contact of this Buckles relay. So when the oil pressure is very high, after 350 degrees Celsius, which can be due to the winding to core fault or the interturn fault, in that very case, the oil is moving through that vein, and as a result, it will trip the contact of this relay. And the output of this relay may be used to trip the transformer. This output can be used to trip the transformer. However, it has another set of contacts. This one, it has another set of contacts operated by the float. This is the float which is actually used to see the level of the oil in the transformer. So it has other set of contacts which are operated by the float, and these contacts stay open when the transformer tank is filled with the oil, because float is above that, and these will remain open when the transformer tank is filled with the oil. However, when the level of the transformer will decrease, they will be operated. Or in case of leakage of the oil or the decomposition of the oil, this will move down or it will sink, causing these contacts to close. However, the loss of the oil will sometimes cause the temperature, transformer temperature to rise, but it doesn't warrant the immediate tripping because it is not a fault. So normally these contacts are actually wired to the alarm, so which alerts the operator that the oil is less in this transformer. So this is the actually the how this Buckles relay is operated. Now, what is done now when the gases are coming out, we have to do the analysis of the this gases, because it how we know that which gas is because of which fault. So how we know that which gas is because of which fault? So what is done? The analysis of the trapped gases has been done. So analysis of the trapped gases in the conservative, it actually gives the clue about the type of damage takes place inside the transformer. Because this is because of the fact that the insulation between the the insulation between the winding turns, then we will have the insulation between the stampings of the core, stampings of the core. They will actually other and any other fault, they will actually liberate the different type of gases when they are heated due to the fault. So presence of these gases actually it will be a signature of particular type of damage that is taking place. Now, if you see that, let us suppose that hydrogen and C2H2 gas is liberated. In that very case, there is the arcing of aisle between the constructional parts. Then we will have if the gas and methane, in that very case, arcing with the deterioration of insulation, fault in tap changer. Then fault in tap changer. Now, if the gases are in that very case, the hot spot in the core joints. And if the gases are then hot spot in the winding. So what we do, we will analyze these gases and see that what's the what type of fault is there in the system. Now next is the overfluxing of the transformers. Now the flux and the applied voltage is actually given by this expression 4.44 phi m Fi, and phi m is given by V divided by 4.44 Fi. Now, whenever there is the over voltage and the frequency remains constant, whenever over voltage is there, frequency remains constant, the core is actually subjected to the high value of the flux, as you have seen from this equation, to support the higher applied voltage. However, by design, the power transformer will operate at the knee of this saturation curve and at a normal voltage, and any increase in the applied voltage, what it happens, there is the increase in the flux density, and it drives the transformer deep into the saturation region. And as a result, the transformer will draw the excessive magnetization current, because we have the BH and it is connected by the magnetization current. So it will draw the excessive magnetization current, and this condition is known as the overexcitation condition. When the excessive magnetization current is drawn, so this condition is known as the overexcitation. This is known as the overexcitation condition. So this condition is known as the overexcitation condition. So this actually increases the core losses and giving rise to overheating of the transformer. However, the saturation of the core, one more point, that the saturation of the core, saturation, if the core is saturated, in that very case, what happens, that it causes the flux to flow in the adjacent structures of the transformer, in the adjacent structures of the transformer. It causes the flux to flow in the adjacent structures of the transformer, and it causes the high eddy current losses in the core and adjacent conducting material. So the eddy current losses would be high. So such an operating condition cannot be allowed continuously for a long time, because it should be tripped if the prolonged overexcitation is there in the transformer. So it can be seen that overexcitation can also occurs in the low frequency. If let us suppose that frequency is low, then same condition can occur. So to keep the working flux within the permissible limit, what we have to do, the V by F ratio must not exceed the permissible limit. So we have to control the V by F ratio, and it must not exceed the permissible limit. And for a transformer, if we have designed the transformer for a per unit voltage limit of 1.25 per unit at a rated frequency, it will experience overfluxing whenever the per unit rated voltage exceeds this 1.25 per unit. And however, the frequency, if the frequency falls below 80%, or that is 40 to 50 hertz, in that very case, if the frequency fall below this 80%, that is 40 to 50 hertz at the rated voltage, the overexcitation can be detected by measuring this relay, which is also known as the voltage hertz relay. So this relay is used for the protection of the overexcitation. Now, the mainly we are using for the voltage this hertz relay, we are using the microprocessor based relays. We are using the microprocessor based relays. Now, the last part is the transformer application chart that we have discussed till now. So transformer protection application chart. So transformer actually used for the wide range of applications, and the type of protection which is provided to the transformer, it actually depends on the kVA rating of the transformer that we have discussed. For the low kVA rating, we are using the overcurrent protection only. And what is the importance of the transformer? So only protection that will possibly be provided to a small transformer, it can be in the form of the fuses that we have you have seen at your home, near your homes also. So however, for a large transformer, very elaborative protection schemes can be used. Now, what are the internal and the external faults which are affecting the transformer? The internal faults that are affecting the transformers are: so internal fault is phase fault, then we will have the ground faults, phase faults, ground faults, then interturn faults that we discussed. Then we have the tap changer failure, OLTC. Then we will have the leakage of oil. Buckles relay is used for that very purpose. And the external faults, system phase faults, system ground faults, then we will have overloads and overfluxing. And last is the application of protective, whatever we have used, protective schemes that we have discussed. Faults, then we will have protection scheme, primary and the backup. So first we have the percentage, this phase faults. Okay, sir. Then for the phase faults, we use the percentage differential protection. We use the percentage differential protection. 5 minutes. We use the percentage, and for a backup, we use the overcurrent and distance relay. Distance relay we can discuss next. Now, then we will have the ground faults. In the ground faults, we are using same percentage differential protection and overcurrent and the backup and the distance relay as backup protection. Then we will have the interturn fault. Now for the interturn fault, we are only using the Buckles relay because the hotspots are generated in that very case. So it is a kind of incipient fault. Then we will have the oil leaks. Same Buckles relay is used for that very purpose. And then we will have the overloads. Now for the overloads, we are using the overcurrent relay, which is based on the current, and thermal image of the protected unit. Overcurrent relay with thermal of And finally, we will have the overfluxing that we discussed. Overfluxing relay that we discussed, that we will have the P by F relay implemented by this, using this this microprocessor. It is actually the microprocessor based relay. Now, this is all about that we have discussed, and one problem is there. I will give you in the tutorial, and I will also give the solution of that, so you can better able to understand that how you can fix the relay, how you can have the different connections of the relay. So that problem I will give you the in this tutorial, and I will also give the solution of that along with that, so that we can discuss. So this is the diagram of that. So what you have to do in that, it is actually a 45 MVA 11 kilovolt 66 kV star delta transformer. So what we have to do, you have to design the percentage differential scheme. So first you have to design the percentage differential scheme. That is, what is the percentage bias in that very case? And second, you have to recommend as a protection engineer that what is the percentage bias that you recommend in that very case. Recommend the percentage bias as per the concepts that you have studied in the class. This is the problem that it is the tutorial problem that you have to do. So this is all about the transformer protection. So we can this is up to the mid-sem. We can do it up to mid-sem. Okay, thanks. Any questions related to that?